fine.
Hey, sports fans. It's Greg Madford from the Greg Madford Show here, live from Phoenix, Arizona. How y'all doing today? Thanks for stopping in. So, we've had politicians. We've had comedians. We've had, we've had business people and insurance folks. We've had interesting folks. We've had old folks and young folks. Fat folks, skinny folks. We've had some TV people, gubernatorial candidates, congressmen, senators. It's been a fun list. This has been a pretty wild year so far. Well, I say year. It's the first year of our show. How's that? Are we in season 1 right now, guys? 2. We're in season 2. This is season 2. I didn't even know. We just transitioned right into season 2. And we've got a friend of the shop in today who's been on Naked and Afraid. Now, we were going to do the show naked today, but then I got the kibosh. I had myself all ready to be naked. I had worked through all my shame. I'm like, where do I place my stuff so that she's not getting a crotch shot of me from the other side of the table? Because you don't want to see a guy sitting there naked. That makes me afraid. And then I was gonna put the headset control like right at the right angle so that I blocked, I don't want to have somebody get a crotch shot of somebody. And then how are you supposed to talk? And then if I look down at the table, they think I'm looking at their crotch. So then we were like, we got some software so we could pixelate out body parts. And then we couldn't do it in real time. Then we got to record it and do all this post-pro digitizing. And then Amber came in and she goes, well, my husband won't let me do a show naked. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here naked. So we decided we were afraid to do the show naked, and we didn't do the show naked. So now we're here live. So Amber, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, brother.
Nice to have you in. And my board's not working here. Does anybody know how to make my board work? Man, maybe it's the power's off over here, huh? I'm so bummed. I was giving you a clap in.
That was funny. You said, her husband might get bad.
Oh, no, you just completely turned it off. Say that again.
I said it was funny that you said my husband would be so mad if I was naked. And I'm like, I'm not ashamed to be naked,
after you spent 5 years on TV, right? Like,
multiple years.
Pixelated.
I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, my board's not working. So if you get that figured out, just let me know, close the door, and we'll just get back to what we're doing here. It's an unscripted show, this is an NBC. So Amber Hargrove, she's been on 4 seasons, 5th season coming out on the Discovery Channel doing Naked and Afraid, and I'm sure some of you have seen the show. I've never actually seen the show, so give me a quick breakdown on what the show is.
Naked and Afraid, the basic premises is stripping.
Because I'm always afraid when I'm naked. I'm like, what's going to happen? I'm always like this, what's going to happen?
You know what's crazy is I'm not a naked person. Like, it's so funny. People are like, what do you do? I'm like, I go out in the wild and, I'm on Discovery Channel. And as soon as I say Naked and Afraid, the wives get weird with me. They give me looks. And I'm like, man, the truth is I'm not a naked person.
Really?
But the show itself is based off of putting you in any different type of... Are you grabbing your chest?
I was just... I didn't want to steal your thunder, so I was letting you talk. But I was just going like, I am kind of naked. I have a naked problem. I do.
Okay, well, if I was naked right here, right now,
yeah,
my tatas would be a huge distraction because you're not used to seeing a naked woman all the time. You don't think it would be?
Shit, no.
Okay, well,
I'm just calling you out on that one.
Then you would do great on Naked and Afraid because
naked is a natural state. I mean, so I'm gonna tell you. Oh no, you tell me a story. The show's not about. The show is not about me.
No, let's hear it. This is good. I love hearing people's opinion on Naked and Afraid and what they think.
Well, okay, so I have this lifelong friend who's Jewish, and he and his wife always had an Easter party. I don't know how Jews were celebrating Easter, something to do with the crucifixion of the God and all that. Anyway, they were on the wrong end of Easter, and they still had an Easter party, so they had all their Gentile friends over. And I used to play Uncle Pricey, so I would get loaded and make fun of all the kids. Like it was 1970s style, like adults hanging out. And so the kids would all be running around, and I'm sure the kids were in therapy afterwards, and I know some of the moms were. There was this one kid I called Pork Chop, and his mom was beside She was beside herself that I called him pork chop, because every time I saw him, he always just had a hand with food just stuffed in his face. And I couldn't remember his name because it was some like kitschy kind of Caden or Chaden or Braden, and I was like, hey, pork chop. And it drove his mom absolutely insane.
Oh,
anyway,
gosh.
the last year I went to the party, the brother held the party, and it was up on the side of a real swanky neighborhood, up on the side of a mountain here in town, Paradise Valley. And the house out the back window had a patio, and off the patio it dropped down like 15 feet, and there was the pool, because they're on the side of the mountain and it's terraced, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's standing around, and the girls are all in dresses and heels, and everyone's, very hoity-toity. And I'm there, and I'm hanging out with my two buddies, and they're fucking professional derelicts, and they drank a lot, and I don't drink at all. And we end up standing next to each other, and I'm drinking with them. I have a couple. They're like, oh, Greg, you're drinking with us. I get 3-4 drinks in, and they're just getting warmed up, and I'm done. So I just kind of walk over and I look out the window, and everybody's standing there in this cocktail party in this nice house. He's a doctor. There's doctors and doctors' wives. And I just start taking off my clothes.
What?
I got completely buck naked standing there looking out the window, and everybody was just looking at me. I opened up the door and I walked out across the patio. It's Easter, so it's a little chilly. I stepped up onto the banister and I jump off the banister into the pool.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. So then, like a dog, like when a dog jumps in the pool and it comes running back in the house, you're like, oh no, did it get a towel?
Yes.
So I come running back in the house, completely naked, completely covered and just soaked, and their women are scrambling to get me a towel or something. And I remember I went over to my friend's mom, who was sitting there with the elder generation in a circle, and they were talking, and they were just like aghast. And I remember I turned around, I bent over, and I talked to her with my ass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did this?
I was, I don't know, it was about 15 years ago, so yeah, I was 35 or 37. And I remember my wife at the time, Amy, she was standing there, and she was just agog, because her family's all really nice, and they would never do anything like this. She didn't know she married a desert lunatic. And one of the wives turns, she says, I'm so glad it's not my husband tonight.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you said that?
And I was uninvited forever. I was uninvited until his funeral. They invited me back. Yep.
Jeez Louise, Greg.
True story.
Oh my gosh, you're like the life of the party.
So
though.
I shouldn't. I used to just get naked for like the drill of it. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Just get naked, And
Yeah.
Well, then the show came on. You guys kind of copied me.
We totally copied you. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it started.
Hey, tell me something. How does this work? Like, do you really spend the whole time naked, or is it like shooting moments? Can you give me some behind the scenes on this show? Like, is there the impression that you're just naked the whole time? Or are you allowed to make a palm frond skirt for yourself, or is that a waste of time? What are you doing?
Okay, so there's a couple of series I've been on, and I can tell you right now that I learned my lesson. That my first challenge ever was in the Everglades. I'm going to give you a situation here. It was a 21-day challenge, and I'm thinking to myself, you have to strip butt naked. Well, they do a little bit of pre-filming. So in the very beginning, they'll film you, be dropped off at your location, off of a vehicle, and you start taking off your clothes. I was not a naked person at the time, and I still am not. I couldn't get out of my bikini and cowgirl boots. I took off my clothes. Like, I just couldn't get over the hump of getting naked. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this.
Choice
It's
of
surreal.
words.
Yes, it was
The hump.
The hump. Getting over the hump.
Yeah, I know.
It was so difficult for me. And finally, the third time, the producer said, hey, Amber, you need to get out of your clothes. Like, we got to start filming. And I'm like, shit. So I finally do it. I get out of my boots and my bikini, and I'm like, I'm really doing this. It was so surreal. And then I never put on clothes again. I made a couple of grass skirts.
For 21 days?
Yeah. Well, so that challenge, I only made 16, and then my partner wasn't boiling the water. So I got dysentery really bad and got pulled on day 16. It was a difficult situation, but I will tell you, the only reason why I made clothes was because the mosquitoes were eating my skin alive.
Right.
Like, when I say mosquitoes were eating my vagina,
Oh, boy.
swear to God, I had no skin. It was 24/7. The worst environment I've ever been in was the Everglades, hands
I'm
down.
slightly freaked out right now. It's going to take me a minute to recover. So,
I have a video I can show you. I
No.
have no skin on my legs, not my
boy.
obviously.
Yeah.
It was what was on the episode.
naturally. They pixelate away the mosquitoes. It's one of those things. It's new software. It's mosquito software.
Oh, is that what it is?
They get the bugs out.
Yeah.
They got to get their bugs out. So you're not allowed to have, aren't there some like natural, like anti-bug things you can put on you?
Correct. So a couple of things I discovered in the Everglades was I thought, you know what, I'll put mud all over my body. And the problem with that is it attracted the horseflies.
Right.
So you dealt with every element from Mother Nature, going from mosquitoes to horseflies to gnats, and you couldn't escape it. And then I realized, okay, I'll use clay on my body. Clay was great, except it would suck all the damn moisture out of your body and my skin would
Completely
crack.
dries you out. Oh, yeah.
I experienced that last year in Louisiana filming on the Legend Challenge, that my skin started to break on my back and I would bleed on my back. But I needed the clay because the mosquitoes in Louisiana are evil.
I'm still recovering from stuff you said earlier. I'm normally not I'm normally not at a loss for words. So let me ask you something else. So since I haven't seen the show, the premise is that you basically have to survive for 21 days
With a
naked,
partner.
and
Yes.
you've got a partner, okay? And do you compete for the partners, or you just draw them randomly?
There's no you don't compete for any partners. You actually don't even get to pick your partner. There is no
They
choice.
probably pair
They
you guys
surprise
up
you.
to see who's the most
By
kind of
personality
dynamic
traits.
pair to.
Correct. Either they want to create a drama, so they're going to put somebody who has drama and the other person's really calm, whatever it may be, or anger problems. And
Do you become friends with these folks that you're naked with
you
for a couple
really
weeks?
do. So you really bond with these people. I mean, you go through hell. I mean, you're so resilient out there. You're able to go through this experience, the sacrifice of your skin, the body, the hardships, whether you go hungry or you don't. And you really have a lot of respect for these people.
Do you lose weight during the challenge?
100%.
Oh, man, that sounds like a great diet.
Well, you know what? Everybody says that.
Like, would I? I mean, I would cut weight because I'm a fat bastard.
You would cut so much. How much do you weigh? Am I allowed to ask you
I'm
that?
walking around. Oh yeah, I'm not some fucking wallflower. I'm 220 pounds. You know.
Okay, you would probably get down to 160 if you were to do a 40-day challenge.
Okay, does that mean you don't eat during the 40 days?
No, that means that your body is purified. So imagine all this crap we eat every day. Like, we are so spoiled in America here.
Right.
We can go to a drive-through and they're handing us food. When you go out in the wild, it's so addicting to kill and provide for yourself with your hands. I mean, having the ability to go out there and know you can take on any environment and you will provide for your partner and people, it's a huge.
All right, give me
it's
a list
amazing.
of shit that you've eaten out there in this madness. Give me a list of the stuff you've eaten.
I think let's start with the worst thing I've ever
Okay,
ate.
let's
Why not?
bring
Let's
it.
do that.
Well, wait a minute. Can we end there?
Yeah, let's end there.
Let's work our
okay,
way
the
there.
best thing I've ever ate was an electric eel. And it was so divine.
Wait a minute. So you guys cooked it over an open fire, but you don't have garlic or spices or anything. You're just happy
You
to get real
have
meat.
nothing. And in this point,
How'd you get the electric eel?
I speared it.
You
Yeah.
I speared it.
I'm a big fisherwoman, so I can go to any water and figure out a way to do
you
it.
did there. So what? All right, next from the eel. Next from the electric eel.
Next would be, I would definitely say I love eating wolffish. They're one of my favorites. Snake is great. I love snake too. I can't wait to share my experience that I just went through. I can't talk about it, but I almost died. So I'm really grateful to be here right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Wait a minute. You almost died because of a snake.
Yeah, I can't talk about it because
Okay.
it's in the future what is coming. But
shit.
I will say that
Spoiler.
I will say right now that definitely snake is one of my second favorites. I caught 2 snakes in the Everglades, water moccasins, and they're so good. And the one water moccasin
How'd you catch him?
I speared it with a spear that I made.
Okay, carry on. And the one water moccasin you had what?
She had eggs inside of her. And I stripped her skin down and I saw them. And I looked at my partner, Ryan, and I go, oh my gosh, she's got eggs. These are going to be so great. And he
did you guys eat the eggs?
Well, of course I did. I looked at my partner and I was like, this is going to be so great. He goes, those are tumors. And I'm like, no, sweetie. My dad taught me a long time how to catch a snake and how to kill it and how to eat it. I said, let me tell you, I got apple snail shells and I made hard-boiled eggs out there and I ate all of them and they were so good. Best eggs I've ever had in my life.
They had to be early on or they would be like kind of developed inside, right?
It was early on and she was full of them. She had 8 beautiful eggs.
How big
inside of
is a water moccasin egg?
her. About the size of a golf ball.
Shit.
It was so good. And I gave him the meat from the snake, but the truth is I have more protein in those eggs. And he was like, not going to try it. And so the last one, as I'm boiling it in the apple snail shell, I look at it and I go, are you sure you don't want to try this egg? And he goes, no. And I was like, just do it. And he had it and he goes, are you kidding me?
How do
He
you go?
said, it's so good.
How do you go back to regular, like, life is pretty fucking mundane after you've been, like, smacking water moccasins and eating eggs out of their womb and.
That's a great question, because the truth is I feel like when I go on these challenges, I go in beast mode and I just don't care what I do. Like, I will do anything to get food. I mean, there are things that I've done out there in the wild that I look back on now and I'm like, I must have been crazy.
Look, give me an example.
In Ecuador, I would go out there every morning and I would get in the water, the Amazon water basin, and I would start splashing around with my hands, and I'd grab sticks and I would do it. And then I would take a step back and I would throw a cast net over it and I would catch piranha. So I was attracting them with my own body. And I'm thinking about what else I could attract out there. They came in,
Did they ever come up and bite you?
A couple of them nipped my calf because I had a scab and it ripped my scab off and I had a couple drops of blood. It didn't attack me like crazy like you see in movies. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
If you're not bleeding, they're not going to mess with you. But I think about some of the things I put my body just to get food, and I was addicted to it. I was like, this is adrenaline for me. I'm like, what else can I do? So.
Huh. Okay. So you've used yourself as bait. You've eaten an eel. You've eaten snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, when you prep a snake, give me an idea. Take us through the steps real quick of how you get the snake ready to eat it.
Sure. First thing you do is you're going to cut its head off. And if it's venomous, you want to bury the head itself. So that way, because it will keep biting you. If it bites you it'll be a huge infection. It'll be horrible. And bury the head, and then you would take the snake.
You mean because it's autonomically still going like that, or because you could just get, okay, all right, fair enough.
The muscles are still flexing for like an hour.
Pretty
It's
amazing
insane.
creatures.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff I've seen that survived out of
Not
water.
just amazing, tasting.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
Okay, so
then you cut a little slit at the very top where you cut the head from the actual belly of the snake to the skin itself, and then you pull it down. You rip it down like a tube, like a tube sock.
So you
You're just
desock it.
pulling it
Yep,
down,
yep.
and that's all you're doing. And then you remove the gut slightly with your knife in the middle, and everything just strips off the meat. And the meat is just—it's kind of crazy. The meat's still moving. All the muscles are flexing. And the snake is still moving 20 minutes after it's dead.
I just fucking threw up a little tiny bit, and then you clean down to the like vent tube area and cut that out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it delicate, or
it's like chicken?
Anybody can do it their first time.
Anybody can do it. It's like tasting chicken, and once you have the meat itself, it doesn't fall off the bone. There are so many bones. It's unless you get a large snake, it's filling. But the smaller snakes that I got, like, you're really working on it.
It's like a bony fish.
Yeah, it's almost like eating a pork rind. It almost tastes like a pork rind a little bit sometimes. The smaller snakes, because the meat is very little, so kind of neat.
Okay, all right. And then how do you cook them? You put them on some sticks and just put them over an open fire.
I wrap it around a stick and I just turn it around like I'm cooking a pig on a fire.
Like a rotisserie.
That's it.
All right.
It's so great. And people ask, like, gosh, that would drive me nuts, not having salt or seasonings. And I'm like, when your body is purified, the natural taste of the meat is amazing. It's great.
So you kind of go in starvation mode.
Sometimes.
But sometimes you're not starving. But so you still lose weight while you're doing it.
You still lose weight because imagine all you're eating is protein. That's like a keto. So you are literally on nothing but protein.
Yeah, so it's a straight up like caveman diet.
Pretty much. And you do lose a ton of weight.
Crazy. Well, and also when your body is struggling to maintain temperature in these extreme environments, that takes a shit ton of energy. I remember
it really does.
When I was doing cold weather training in the Marine Corps, you might lose 7 pounds in a day.
Yes.
And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, you're just shivering. You burn all this energy.
All that energy is burning off everything you have.
Yeah.
I think that the hardest experience I've ever experienced, well, actually, let me back it up. The weight issue for me was Africa. Africa was one of the most harshest environments I've ever been in.
But where were you in Africa?
Namibia, Katima.
All right.
And it was definitely the hottest experience. It got to 117 3 days, and it was day one filming. And I remember going with my partner Dawn.
You're in Phoenix. We don't think 117 is very hot.
No,
Right,
you guys don't think it's that hot. But let me tell you, when you're butt naked, and you don't have sunblock to put on.
That's true.
You've got barefoot. You're walking over devil thorns. They are horrible. They are about
so you don't have shoes during this either.
Nothing. And I'm walking 5 miles on day one filming, and my shoulders have blisters. And I am just like, you have got to be kidding me. And here's the thing about Naked and Afraid. You don't get to pick your location is behind the scenes.
Right.
They guide you and say, this is your only area. You get to pick only in this little small circle. And I'm like, first of all, I would not pick this location to survive. I really wouldn't.
Are there other teams trying to survive there at the same time as you?
Yeah, it depends what challenge you're going on. There is a 14-day challenge called a fan challenge, and it's when one they call them like the golden crew, somebody who's been on a challenge before, and they take a fan who has never been outside as a survivalist, and we take them out for 14 days. 21-day challenge is the basic.
And they do that on TV.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's an experienced Naked and Afraider.
Yep.
And a brand new Naked and Much More Afraider.
Correct. Somebody with no experience.
Yeah, okay.
And then you have a 21-day challenge where they partner you up with anybody who's a survivalist who applied. I do this, I do that. But mainly they just read books, I think, and watch YouTube. Because I've seen some of these guys come on the show and I'm like, what? And they'll say, well, I learned this from reading a book. And I was like, have you actually tried this? He like, put your hands on it. And they're like, nope, first time. I'm like, oh, wowza.
What's the thing you do? Like people say, though, oh, I'm a knife maker. And I'd be like, I know like 3 things I could say, well, show me how you do this. And you to like really quick find out if they're a knife maker or not.
100%.
What are the couple of like the screens you would do? Let's say you were had to pick a survival person. You had to interview some people and they were going to be on your own version of a show.
Sure.
How would you pick them? What were the things you'd test them with?
First of all, I would ask them how to build a shelter. What kind of shelter would you build if you're in this environment? I would give them environments because that really dictates their knowledge on it. I mean, there's certain shelters you wouldn't build in certain environments. So that would be my first question. Second question is, what tool would you bring? What is your survival item that you would bring? Pick 3. What would it be? I'm asking you, what would you pick? If you had to pick 3 survival items, that's all you got, and you're buck naked out there.
All right. I think I would pick a knife. Am I allowed to bring a little water filtration cup? Is that
you can do that. You can do that. So a knife, okay.
I would bring a water filtration cup. And I know it sounds a little funny, but either a big sun hat or a bottle of sunscreen.
Okay. Greg, I got to be honest. I wouldn't pick you as a partner.
That's bad, huh?
Well, there's a couple reasons. You're an amazing person. Okay. Let me break this down. You're badass. You are badass. You're Greg Medford.
I'm finicky though, but
if you brought a hat, how would we share that hat?
Oh no, that's why I said sunscreen. I changed from
okay. So you pick sunscreen.
Yeah, because I was thinking.
Okay, I would take you then.
Yeah, like some SPF 400.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you start talking about all those blisters on your skin and everything. I'm like, all right, well, if I got to get through this, I don't want that. And I'm bald, so I got to do something or I'm like a problem. You know what I mean?
No, I completely understand that.
All right, so sunscreen, knife, and a water filtration cup. That's the 3 things I would bring. What were the 3 things? What are the 3 you would bring?
I would bring a ferro rod. I would bring a knife, and I would bring a pot.
Oh, okay. I see the thinking. And you're like, fuck the skin, it'll grow back.
But what kind of knife would you bring, though? Would you bring a small knife or a big knife?
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you. Well, if I had my druthers, I'd have a machete and I'd have a little skinning knife.
See, that is a perfect set. I totally agree with you there.
Yeah.
I developed a knife called the Barracuda through Dark Timber Custom Knives, and it's a bookery almost. And I pick a large knife because...
Is that what you're wearing right now?
No, this is my, no, this is a different knife.
Let me see that knife you have on right now.
Do you want to see?
I love your knife slinging.
This is a Dark Timber Custom. This is my husband's Commander.
Who's Dark Timber? Who's that?
Peter Kohler, my husband.
Oh, that's your husband.
That's
your
my
husband's
husband,
a knife maker.
Yeah, he forges. He does mid-tex. He actually
who the fuck scheduled her?
Oh. No, he's actually a great. He actually thinks you're great too. By the way, he wanted to be here.
He was a sweetheart. He was a real gentleman when I was a typical gangster, as I usually am. Tell me, does he do a forging method on all of his stuff? Is he kind of old school knife maker or reduction?
Yes, old school. He does all of his Damascus. He does everything.
Okay, cool.
He does his own handles. This is his mid-tech line. So this is mass produced. My actual Barracuda, I have it here actually, and that's all custom. That's with Nitro V. That knife, let me tell you, I have never experienced a better knife in my hand than that. And I'm grateful that my husband allowed me to develop a knife with him because he definitely has his own brand and I'm the naked and afraid girl, and people are like, you're not a knife maker. I don't want to be a knife maker and I'm not. But you know what I want? I want to make my own goddamn knife to go out in the wild. And having a
Well,
big
you got to
knife.
know what you want now.
Well, because I know what I do in the wild.
Right.
Do I go outside and I cut down trees? Do I build my own shelters? Do I build rafts? Do I build open fishing platforms? Yes, I do. But I wouldn't take a small knife because a small knife can't do what a big knife does. Big knife can always do what a small knife does. So that's where
Maybe
we
not
go.
well, but it can do it.
I wish I could have a pair though. Have a small one and a large one together.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is I showed up when I was in the Marine Corps. I showed up with knives, and guys were like, "What are you gonna do with that?" I had a big Bowie knife, and I'm like, "Well, I could do all kinds of stuff with it." So it became like when I was on a deployment with a big Bowie knife. I tried to use it for everything I possibly could. I only wish I would have taken pictures.
Oh, you don't have any pictures?
Can you imagine that if I was a young guy and I cataloged me using a Bowie knife and then I end up in the knife business later in life?
That's huge.
That would have been awesome.
Somebody's got to have a picture of you.
No. I had, oh God, this is funny. So we had this, I remember in Saudi Arabia, we were in this forward camp area before we were going into Kuwait. And we were in a 40-man GP tent, my platoon, and they had the officer's hooch across from us. And there was this guy who'd gone to the Citadel. I forget his name. He was a captain. And I remember I would sit on an ammo box out in front of the of our hooch, completely naked with my boots on in the sun, and I would sharpen this Bowie knife that I brought with me.
Are you serious?
And whenever he'd come out, it seemed like he and I were on a similar cycle.
Yeah.
So I'd be sitting out there whenever I was doing my naked time sharpening. I'd be sitting there completely naked sharpening the knife, and he would come out. So I ended up getting called to the company commander. Lance Corporal Medford, I need to talk to you about something. It's a little weird. What's the deal with you sitting out naked in front of the hooch there sharpening your knife? I said, well, sir, I just, we don't have laundry, and feel like after I take a bath, I don't feel like putting dirty clothes back on.
No, because you
quite
get sweaty. I was in Kuwait for 9 months. So on my army deployment.
So
I get it.
I'm like, I'm just going to sit out here. And there weren't any girls in the Marine Corps infantry, So I said, I just like sitting out there. And he said, and then you sharpen your knife. I'm like, yeah, it just seems like something to do, sir. And he goes, well, I've got one of my young officers having nightmares. And do you think you could maybe knock it off? And I was like, well, really, sir? He says, yeah. I said, yes, sir. I can.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So apparently
traumatized this
I
officer.
traumatized this guy sitting out there just completely naked with no shame because, I was around my guys and I didn't care. And I just sharpened this Bowie knife as like a pastime,
Gosh, I have so many great memories being in Iraq when we got these new lieutenants coming in.
Yeah.
And I was a sergeant, and I was like, oh, we got this new lieutenant.
What'd you do?
I was a 74 Delta, chemical equipment.
Chemical equipment. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I worked as a 63 Juliet, chemical equipment, and then 74 was, NBC.
Oh, okay.
CBRN.
NBC,
Yeah.
That's Army talk. I don't know any of those things. You
Oh,
guys.
yeah. So chemical, which was great because we get these new officers that do training. I was like, hey, we have to go work on our tanks to do our maintenance. And I'd be like, you have to take this chalk and you have to go over and mark the soft spots on the tank. And he was like, oh, okay, I got this. I leave for 10 minutes and I come back and he put 20 X's all over this tank. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy has no idea I'm totally messing with him right now. Oh. There's no soft spots on tanks. Absolutely no soft spots.
And when you say tank, you mean like a battle tank, like an
M14.
Okay.
Like literally. And he would literally put these X's and he goes, this seems pretty soft. And I'm like, this guy's taking a hammer on this tank right now.
Fantastic.
It was pretty good. I used to mess with people a lot over there and I was kind of goofy.
That's
but
fantastic.
I used to love my deployments though.
Is that were you married when you were in the Army, or did you get married afterwards? How'd you and your husband meet?
Actually, I met Peter Kohler at Blade Show. So it was my first year. I just got done filming my second season of Naked and Afraid, and everybody says go to Blade Show in Atlanta. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll go.
So you guys got together like 5 years ago?
Yeah, no. I just met him at that point, and I heard about the Dark Timber Brotherhood, his group on Facebook, and I was like, they do charities. I found out that my cousin Nova, she was 34 years old and she was dying from cancer. She had 90 days left to live is what they gave her. And she said, I'm really struggling. I have 2 kids. We're financially hurting. I don't know what to do. And the doctor says, this is the end of my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the sweetest girl, good person. What could I do to help? Why not use whatever reality star I have to help raise money to help her get through her bucket list before she passes. And then Bobby Bushcraft, I met him for the first time, and he said, I'd like to introduce you to Peter Kohler. He will raise money in this charity if he sees it fit, and she's a good person. I said, trust me, I'll fall in love with Nova. And Peter immediately met me. He met Nova a week later, raised her $17,000 in a week, and she got to do her bucket list, and she passed early. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And Peter and I were just friends. I rarely talked to him. What he did for me was like, wow, this is an inspiring person. He's very inspiring for anybody who meets him. He believes in a lot. And yeah, that's how we met. And then I started a job at, oh my gosh, Knives Illustrated magazine. And I would travel with Bobby Bushcraft. And I said to him, hey, this is my first interview with somebody. Who do you recommend? He goes, why don't we go interview Peter Kohler? And I was like, okay. I'll go interview him. I'll go to Colorado. Well, I went there and I didn't know he was going through a divorce. We went to his house. It was completely empty. Like, it was so awkward. Like, I was like, what is going on? So
wait a minute. So is that who your husband is?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just connecting the dots here. Sorry.
This is my husband, Peter, who I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
And so Peter Kohler, I want to put him in, Knives Illustrated magazine, do my first article on him as I'm interviewing all these people. I'm like, this is going to be great. We go to his forge. We start interviewing. I'm with my boss, Josh, and Peter busts out moonshine. And I'm not a drinker. Like, I'll have a drink every once in a while. Don't let this fool you right here, by the way.
Oh, no, I'm not fooled.
Okay.
All right.
So he busts out this moonshine. We start drinking. In the middle of the interview, I didn't realize I was actually drunk. And I said, you are so hot. And I was like, oh my God, how unprofessional. I can't believe I just did this. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was trying to fix myself. I was sweating.
He's
and
like, fuck the interview. Hi.
yes, pretty much. And I was like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And then I was like, we should go on a date sometime. At the very end, I didn't know we were still filming on a live.
shit.
And I was
Still
like,
going.
yeah, so I was going for it. I was single. He was single. And that night, he decided to take me out to downtown Golden as our first date. And he said to me, there was karaoke going on.
Yeah.
He said, don't embarrass me. He was with his brother-in-law, Greg, this big tough guy from New York or whatever. And I was like, oh, don't embarrass them. Okay. And I love karaoke. And he didn't know that.
Oh, no.
So he's standing there with his pool stick trying to be cool, standing there. And then all of a sudden they say, Amber, come on down. And I'm like, oh, this is great, So I get the microphone. There's like 50 people in this bar. And I go, what's up, Denver? And he was like, oh, my God.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And I had the whole bar singing the song with me. I got on top of the bar. I nailed it.
You went Coyote Ugly on him.
Yeah. I actually used to be a Coyote Ugly.
What do you mean?
I worked there for 2 years after I got out of the Army.
You worked at Coyote Ugly is that in Las Vegas? Or
No,
New
in
York?
Denver.
In Denver. Oh, they have one there?
Yeah.
Look at you.
I used to love it.
Peter, you won.
My name was Roxy. That was my name because Callie was taking and I'm from California.
Of course it was. I have a friend calling in who's kind of a fan. Would you mind if we take a call?
Of course.
Oh my God. All right. So I can't see his name because he's got all kinds of things going on. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Great.
Yes.
I was trying to call. You didn't answer when I called earlier.
I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a. You must be watching this because I know you're a fanboy.
Of course. I saw you had Amber there.
Yeah, she's here. Do you want to say hi?
Hey, Amber.
Hey, Chris.
How was everything?
Everything's going great. We're actually just talking about some random military stories, Coyote Ugly moments, moonshine, and life.
CW, what are you doing, man? Where are you at right now?
Well, I can't tell you a whole lot. I'll tell you, I'm in Wisconsin.
What are you doing in Wisconsin? Are you on a set or what?
Yeah, I'm on a set. It's kind of low key, but it's exciting.
What? What do
That's
you do,
it.
Chris? I gotta hear this.
No. So you guys have your downtime in your trailer right now or something? You're on YouTube, for God's sake.
Yeah, all those fucking guys, they always point here, point there. I'm just gonna do what I want. So you popped up that you went live, and I wanted to call you. So
Oh, well, awesome. I thought to put you through because I see you make 5 calls. I'm like, does Chris need a knife? What's going on? Something for a movie? All right. Well, is there anything you want to say to Amber before we get back to our interview?
no, I'm glad she's all right, and that she had that run-in with the whole thing and the parasites and all that. So,
I did. It was really rough on me, and that recovery was the hardest recovery ever.
Okay. Well, listen, stalking, walking. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you another time.
Anytime, Greg. Anytime.
Bye.
Take care. That was cool.
The small world. Hey, so you've got a new season coming out, right?
Yes, I do.
And when's the new season come out? I know you can't talk about it because contractually it's spoilers and all of this, blah, 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 blah. But who wins?
Oh, oh my God, like 20 people. No, not even close. Actually, it starts airing in April and it goes until June. So it's a 10-week series.
Do you watch it?
I do. So I watch it. It's so funny.
'Cause
I
you're
don't
like-
even have cable, and I only get cable to watch my series because I don't. I got to experience everything. Here's the truth: I don't know what the producers are going to create the storyline. I can go out there and be a rock star, and I can either be a provider or I could be a horrible survivalist, and I don't do anything, and I sit in a shelter. The producers and Discovery will create any storyline they want. So I'm very careful with my words. I feel like an old school person where they can interview me and I know exactly what they're going for, what they want me to say. And I'm able to manipulate it to be like, no, that's not the story. I know what's going on. This is who I am. I want you to portray Amber Hargrove.
Yeah.
Like that's more important to me.
Yeah.
And right now I'm doing audio pickups right now. And I get to kind of figure out the storyline they're going with. And I'm just really excited that they're really portraying me who I am.
Are you going to watch this?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I?
Oh, you know what's funny? So you probably don't know this, but Amy and I split up a couple years ago. And
The Amy I just met?
Yeah. We're business partners and great friends.
Oh gosh, that's huge to have somebody like that.
No, I mean, she's wonderful. She's wonderful, and we get along really well. We actually bought houses behind each other.
What?
So my kids go back and forth between the two houses. They go through a hedge of oleander bushes.
That's really cool, Greg.
I know. So
You would be a cool ex to have.
So
That sounds weird. I'm sorry.
trying to work that out in my head for a second. So I had a girlfriend for a while, and she kind of stepped into this life that I've already got going on, and that's hard for somebody because I'm still, Amy's here every day, and we live next to each other. It's conflicting for someone stepping in. They're like, "What's going on? You guys are still together." I'm like, "No, not really, but we're partners." So I would do these shows, and in the evening time, I get home, and one of the ways I kind of decompress is I kind of like to review the show a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when I started, because I didn't have an interview style. I'd been basically ranting and talking shit about politics.
I love it.
I
think you're awesome. I watch you and I listen to you, and so does Peter, and he's like, man, this guy, I would love to be on a show with him. You guys are more like-minded than you think.
Well, it's funny because, I'm self-conscious now that I'm getting people that are in the, the power class, the leadership class to come in and talk with me. Well, I want to be prepared. I want to seem like I know what I'm talking about. I want to be clear on subject matter. I want to direct the conversation in a way that's at least engaging so people stay on and watch, because, why do it if no one's going to watch it?
Good point.
So trying to find a balance of an interview style. And this is interesting because we don't have, I don't have, usually I have a politician come in. I know how they vote. I know what stuff they're working on. I can talk whether it's state politics or federal politics. I can talk about legislation that's running through. And people go, oh, fuck, Medford knows what he's talking about. Well, I do a little research and I make sure I'm prepared. And then I've got to be ready to roll with them. But that's kind of a formulaic.
Yeah. It's laid out. You have a plan.
Yeah, and I kind of know but to see it, I like to see in this long format, how does it unfold? Is it entertaining? Where is it dead at? So I can change my style. I'm trying to be better at it. And so I would watch them. Well, the girl actually, she would get really mad at me because I was watching myself. She's like, "Oh, you're obsessed with yourself."
No, you're not.
And I'm like, I'm just,
You're working to grow yourself.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, because you do it. It's like, if you do any kind of art, you want to look at it. And I'm not saying this is art, but anything you do where you're presenting yourself, you want to find a way to look at it and judge it and make it better, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about, I watch it, I want to see how they're portraying me. Well, I like to see how I come off on camera, because, in your head, you sound
100%.
When you hear a recording of yourself, you're like, oh, I sound like that, because it doesn't have the sound going through the bone in your ear.
Yep.
It's the same thing visually.
It really is. And I'm glad that you watch your shows when they're done, because you want to see, you want to grow as a human. Everybody wants to do better. Everybody wants to learn new things. I watch myself and I'm like, oh my, either I'll look at it and be like, that happened to a T, or what are they doing? Like, literally, that's where I'm at. And it's never in the middle. There's no medium there, ever.
Excuse me. You're in a position editing in Hollywood and entertainer editing spooks me out a little bit because I've been interviewed after like airplane crashes. I've been interviewed and it gets twisted around.
It does.
So I'm the same kind of like really, really cautious about how I talk to anybody who's press or entertainment. But I don't have that to worry about. Like I had some things where I gotta do that a little too much. So I consciously started getting rid of that as much as I could. I touched my face a little too much.
I use my hands. Like I don't know where to put my hands right now. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Pretty good right here.
Loud noises.
So, and then I had postures that were not great for the camera. And like, I'm like, oh geez, I got to lose 20 pounds for sure. You know, like all this stuff, when you watch yourself, you see these things, you go, and you're probably like, I think if I was like naked and I'm leaning down and I know there's cameras around, I'm like, okay, I don't want to get mad.
You have no idea. I'm very conscious about that bending over.
I know. That's what I would be freaked out about.
That I'm like during filming my last experience, and I bent over and I didn't realize the whole camera crew was right behind me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just showed them my world, you know. And I'm very.
And you're like.
Conscious about that.
You're like, love the mosquitoes, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And it is interesting to put yourself out there. I'm very vulnerable to the world because I'm showing them the real me. I'm not an actress. I'm not, which would be really cool to do. Don't get me wrong. And I get to wear clothes, bonus. But I am putting myself out there, being vulnerable to anybody. And, there are haters out there. There are my fans out there who praise me.
Do you have any haters?
I actually have a couple haters. But
man, I got a lot of haters.
I know, but everybody has it. When you put yourself out there, we're going to get these trolls.
Yeah.
We're going to get people who you say one thing, or it looks like maybe I didn't share my fish with somebody and they're like, how dare you? And I'm like, that actually didn't really happen, but okay. I'm really sorry you're feeling that way. Like,
it's funny you say that because I've had, I'm pretty outspoken and I know it can be polarizing. And if someone doesn't agree with me, it gives them an instant reason to stop rubbing oil on themselves in their diaper in their mom's basement. And now they can chime in and tell me what a dummy I am. But it's one of those things that like anybody who's around me, if they're like, okay, for instance, when Donald Trump got elected, he was reacting to people saying stuff.
He was getting him in trouble.
And I was like, hey, boss, man, you've been doing this a long time. You can't engage the haters because there's no winning that. Because as soon as you knock one down, it's whack-a-mole. There's 10 other.
There's like 50,000 more.
And they're like, oh, if that's all you have to do to get his attention, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
It almost ratchets him up.
It does. And now I just have to have I call it a hard face. I'm just like, nope, I'm not going to let it affect me. Like, my last experience in Louisiana as going towards the Legends was really hard on me. I gave it my all. I love fishing. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. I'm good at it. And I'm patient. And I had Max and Gary as my partners. And they were complete opposites of each other. So I'm dealing with these wars going on every day between these two guys. And here I am, Switzerland in the middle. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching. And I have to deal with it every day. And I'm like, how do I handle this? And surprisingly, we grew together and we bonded. And by day 24, my left leg swelled up like the size of my thigh. It was horrible. What really happened was I didn't have a blood clot. They thought I had a blood clot, so they pulled me on this challenge on day 24. It was horrible.
24.
Well, they don't. The thing is, the camera crew wasn't on me when I was fishing that morning, and I stepped on this weird clay hole. And when I stepped on it, like hundreds of these little brown spiders came up and went around my foot and bit me everywhere. So my foot swelled, and I was like freaking out, and I was kind of hiding it. And I was embarrassed. I was like, I don't want to be pulled from this challenge. This is my redemption. I'm doing great. I believe in myself. I know I'm going to make 60 days in Louisiana. They pulled me. And it broke my heart and devastated me. Like, I have never felt like a failure in my life until that challenge. It broke my soul. Like, I actually got really sad after filming. Peter flew out to Louisiana, met me at the hospital, and he was my support system. He was like, hey, it's okay. You made it this far. And I was like, but I was thriving. I was thriving out there. And I was like, man, I was crushing it, catching these big old fish. I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life. And it was hard on me. So people were hating on me.
So what happened with the foot? It just went away after
swelling,
a few days?
They gave me a steroid shot on my butt twice a day. And the swelling went down. I stayed in Louisiana a week after filming. I was just emotionally broke from having to leave because believing in something so much and you give it all this energy and passion.
Where do you get all this from? I've turned into a finicky guy. Like, After being in the infantry, I kind of decided I'd be totally fine if I never camped again. So
Are you serious?
yeah,
I felt that way 2 years after I got out of the Army. Like I was like, screw camping, man.
yeah. I mean, well, look, you get a lot of accolades, and you're turning this into. I mean, it's a career for you, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would do this if I was getting paid, and I was doing it. But if it was the choice between like running a company or doing Naked and Afraid, I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that. Christ, no.
I am addicted to it.
I don't want to
love it.
I don't want to eat any snail boogers.
No,
Hey, we didn't finish the list.
Oh,
Damn it.
I forgot to tell you. Okay, so we went from like the best. I talked about the eel, the snake, the fish, all that good stuff. I think the worst thing that I ate was maggots. And I was like, Gary talked me into it. I got an 8-foot alligator. I named her Bertha. I ripped her head off, and I was so proud of it. And then
back up just a second. Tell me about that. That whiskey's getting warm. Be careful.
Oh, thanks.
So wait a minute. Okay, what happened to this 8-foot alligator? Tell me about this 8-foot alligator.
Well, one thing about me
I mean, you can't skip. You just rip the head off an 8-foot alligator and you go right to maggots.
Okay, so let me
Isn't that
just
good
pump
meat?
the brakes.
Isn't that good meat?
Yeah, so I wrestle alligators with clothes on. I go out to Moscow, Colorado, and I do training. And I'm obsessed with ripping those gators out of the water and mounting their back.
You're a freak.
I think I love pushing my limits as a human to see how far I can get before I get hurt.
What's that all about?
I think I learned that being in Iraq. I had a little bit of PTSD getting shot at, and I used to turn it into a video game, and my adrenaline would pump, and I'm like, how far can I push this before I get hurt? So that was my personal quest right there.
So are you still doing this alligator wrestling thing?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, wait a minute. They do it in Colorado?
There's a town called Moscow, Colorado. It's by Canyon City, and I go out there probably about 3 times a year, and I'll talk to the owner. You take your shoes off, you get barefoot, you walk in the alligator pit, you pick your alligator and you rip their tail out, or you put a noose around their neck and you get them out of the water, and then you mount their back.
And is there one of their defense mechanisms? They turn around. They flip
Actually,
around?
an alligator can't bite its own tail. So if you grab the alligator's tail, it
can't get you.
cannot. You can control it with which direction
But they
you're
could
going by
beat you
turning
up with the tail. The tail's very powerful.
Yeah, so
right?
that's funny because the last time I went and wrestled this 12-foot alligator, I put a noose around its neck. It turned and slapped my back with its tail. Oh, it looked like somebody took a 2x4 to my back for about 3 weeks.
And I guess PETA's not in on this.
No,
alligator
Peter
wrestling.
doesn't go with me.
No, not Peter. PETA.
PETA,
People
yeah.
for the treatment of animals.
Both of them.
Peter's not into it either.
No, Peter's not. But the best part about wrestling alligators is when I rip them out of the water, we usually give them antibiotics or treat their wounds. So it's kind of like you're doing good and bad. I just love it. I think it's great, and I love alligators. I respect the animal, but I also love ripping their heads off and eating the meat because it provides. So in Louisiana, I set up an alligator trap, and it worked. I got a treble hook, hung it from a tree, and I used one of my rotten fishes, and I put it on the hook, and I waited, and she took it. And it was so great. And we pulled her out of the water. I jumped on her back, and I used my Barracuda knife, and I just cut her head off, sliced it off. And then we ate on the meat for about 10 days.
I bet the producers lose their shit when you do crazy shit like that.
Yeah, I have pictures of me riding it in Louisiana after I took her head, right before I took her head off and after.
That's fantastic.
It's like a warrior thing for me. I feel like I turn into this beast when I go on Naked and Afraid. I don't know what it is. It's something my drive in me. I would make sure we'd have food, water, fire, shelter by day one. I would make sure you were taken care of. I love being a caregiver. I'm a mom, so I love it.
How old are your kids?
I have a 15-year-old daughter, Layla, 9-year-old boy, Easton, and Peter has 2 kids, Ivy and Ford. So we have a Brady Bunch family.
There's a story. So
about Peter and Amber.
I'll show you a picture afterwards, but I went out in the Sea of Cortez with one of my Marine Corps buddies, and he was kind of well known in the Marine Corps. He had gotten toe tagged and was dead, and they were bagging him up to remove his body from combat theater, and kind of barked to life.
What?
Yeah, and they ended up taking him to Germany, and he's pretty famous. He had been declared dead and toe tagged for quite some time.
Is that even possible? Does he have brain injuries from it?
Oh yeah, he actually went to engineering school afterwards and kind of regular
reset
life.
himself.
Yeah, so before he had done the full reset, I caught him like post hospital. We ended up on his boat out in Sea of Cortez fishing.
What?
Yeah, and long story short, we went chumming to go shark hunting. And,
that's cool.
And we ended up getting a bunch of mako chasing us. And he had said to me, he goes, yeah, the mako is, it's like a principal alpha hunter. It's a prime hunter in the ocean.
Yeah.
He says it's great meat eating because they have a bladder. They don't urinate through their skin, so their meat tastes great. And he said, if we get makos, we'll pull them out of the water. He said, we're gonna tire them down, and then he said, you got to tire them down before you bring them in the boat, or they'll destroy the boat. He says, see that broken windshield right there? Yeah. He says, well, my wife caught one the other day. She pulled him towards the boat too soon, and they swim almost 60 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And so the fish swam towards the pole of the line, came right up, or not the fish, the shark, came right up out of the water and hit the windshield of the boat and broke the windshield.
Oh my.
Like a missile out of the water because they're going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He said, these are pretty serious, prime predators here. I said, okay. So we had these two that were circling around the boat, and they bumped their head on the boat.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, man, I kind of want to punch a shark. I just got a weird thing. I want to punch a shark. And he goes, oh, don't punch a shark. He goes, they're so fast, they'll get you. I said, no, I'm way too fast for that.
You're really going to compete against a shark?
So I got myself hanging over the boat. I'm hanging over the side like this. And the shark comes around. And I reach out. And I hit the shark as fast as I can. I hit him right in the head. And I hit him so fast. And he was going away from me. And I hit him in the head pretty hard. And as I pulled my hand back, his head had turned and snapped at my hand. And I was like, oh, shit, game on.
Oh, my gosh.
So now that shark's pissed off, and he's banging his head against the boat, and he's circling around, and the other one's getting worked up. So I grab a gaff, and my friend's just, kind of driving the boat. And I grab a gaff, a T-handled hook.
Yeah.
And I just snatched it up under the jaw and pulled it up into the boat. And when I pulled it up into the boat, he goes, what are you doing, man? And I said, well, we don't have to fish him then. I can just pull him. We don't have to do the fishing line, man. I'm just going to pull him in the boat. And I didn't know. I'm a desert. I'm from Arizona, man. I don't know what sharks do. Well, the shark goes batshit berserk. And he's flopping and coming, 3-4 feet off the deck of the boat. And he's tearing up the boat. He says, man, he's going to sink the boat. Blah, 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 blah. So I jumped on top of the thing. And just straddled it, right? The thing about a shark, though, is they can reach around and bite you. They're they're very agile.
Yeah.
So I jumped on top of him, and I put his head into the corner. And I didn't realize it at the time, but they were about 175 pound. They were my size, but just pure muscle.
Yeah. So
strong, I couldn't believe it. And so aggressive, I was blown away.
Oh, my.
And I'm on top of the shark now, and he's flipping me all around the boat. And I had a Praetorian tie on me, and I snapped my Praetorian tie out, and I popped him right in the neck, right behind the head. And his head kept going. Like, it reminded me when you told me the snake story.
The snake, yeah.
The shark's like, but he couldn't go anywhere because I hit him right across the spinal cord.
Oh my gosh, Greg. I'm surprised you did not get any scars from that.
So I'll show you a great picture after this. So there's just blood everywhere. And me sitting on the shark, and I look over, and you could see just this plunge right into the neck. And then he turns and he goes, that's about the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Are you serious?
This is a guy that, was
has seen some crazy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he's seen some crazy stuff. He says, hey, I'll give you $100 if you do that again on that other. So we pulled that shark, we threw him in the little ice hatch, and I did the same thing. I grabbed the next one out, and I did the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
It flopped out. So the boat looked like a massacre. There was blood everywhere, and these two dead sharks, and I popped them both right in the back of the neck with my Praetorian to calm them down.
I think I'm a little crazy sometimes in the wild, but you're loco, man, for sure.
When you say you jump on, like, an alligator kind of freaks me out because they're like
very aggressive,
and they're comfortable on the ground. Like, they've got legs.
They're fast.
Sharks kind of. I feel like they're
You're
helpless.
taking them out of the element. Yeah.
Yeah, but
no, it's so great. I wish that you would come to Colorado and try it sometime. I would like to challenge you to come out to Colorado and go alligator wrestling with me.
I don't know, man. I'm not as agile as I used to be.
Then you can go and forge with Peter in the shop. It'd be great.
You're pretty young. What are you, 32? How old are you?
I will totally take 32. We don't even, I got to be honest, I'm 39 years old.
And yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm 51 and a former infantry guy, and I don't skittle around quite the way I used to.
You know what? We'd have a great time. If anybody's listening to this podcast and would like to see Greg come out and wrestle alligators, leave a comment below. I would love to see that.
This is up in Colorado. That would be I'm sure Bobby would come along to video the shit out of this.
100%. Bobby Bushcraft will go, hands down. But I will tell you this, the whole story on the alligator. after we had it for
Oh
10
my God,
days.
I hijacked your sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
I forgot. I just wanted.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, like, I'll start talking like you and
This
I'll
is
wander
why-
off the trail.
This is
and
why
I'm
I'm
like,
this is why I'm
"Ah."
divorced. I steal the moment. Go
I
ahead.
don't think you stole the moment at all.
No,
I
sorry
thought that
about
story
that.
was awesome, by the way. And that's something that I wouldn't do. So, and I go balls to the wall when it comes to being a survivalist.
A fish story that didn't get away.
That was that was really impressive. I got to be honest. Like, that is a story you need to tell at dinner and be like, people are like, what?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little subtext of the story. So
Okay.
I ended up at a surf competition down at the Stone Steps in San Diego, Encinitas. We come up after the surf competition, and I'm walking through the neighborhood, little bungalow, cute little neighborhood on the coast of California, and there's this party going on, and I just walked up and grabbed a guitar, and next thing you know, we had like a band going in this front yard, and we had this great time. Well, I start talking to this dude, and I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm a shark hunter."
What?
And I remember I was like,
That's kind of cool.
okay. And then I go, well, me too.
I'm a shark killer.
He says, oh, I'm a shark fisherman. And I go, well, me too. I'm a shark fisherman today. And he's like, he says he's a shark fisherman or shark hunter. And everyone's like, I mean, who else goes, yeah, me too.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I was like, yeah, me too. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, well, I did that today. And he goes, what do you mean you did that today? And I said, well, we got these makos. He says, well, that's all I hunt is makos and threshers. And I said, well, I tell him the story, and the guy's just looking at me. He's like,
are you kidding?
he's like, he didn't do that. Of course, Amy's standing there. She goes, yeah, he did that. I'm like, yeah, I got pictures, man. Look at it. And he
Oh
goes,
my gosh.
I hook up to a mako, and they tow me around for an hour, and then I kind of pull them in when they're all worn out. I said, well, I had a fresh fight with both of mine,
Oh my gosh.
The guy thought I was he thought I was completely lying. And then I showed him the pictures, and he was like, you could see the wind come out of his.
You were like the coolest guy he's ever met at that moment.
Well, I think he thought I was fucking crazy.
Oh, of course. I think people think we're crazy what we do things like that.
It seemed at the time, both times, it seemed like the thing to do.
Thank you. Okay, so when I watch myself do crazy things out there, when we were ripping the gator out and I'm on its back and I'm mounting it back, I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, whoa, what were you doing? And my kids look at me and they're like, oh my.
Do you ever get up on them and then hold their mouth shut and all that?
Of course.
So they've got musculature for closed, but not great musculature for open, which
Correct.
is why we're able to pull this off.
Yeah, so
apparently.
that's why it works out. I mean, most of the time when I mount their back, I put my weight on it, and I'm a $125, so sometimes it is difficult for me. So I had Max and Gary really assist the whole entire process.
25 and 39. Go ahead.
I am.
You got your stats.
Oh wait. Oh, thank you so much
Yeah.
for that, by the way.
Yeah, I was doing my
And-
stat voice.
I thought it was very professional.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's great, actually. You're a keeper.
Well, we like to, it's background. It's like the Greek chorus.
Yes. No, but like I think about what you said. It was in the moment and you felt like it was the right thing to do. It was like your intuition guiding you. And there are some crazy things, me fighting snakes or chasing them. I don't know what is in me, but I'm just like, go for it. Like
I may have
know
to
I'm
watch
gonna
the
make
show
it.
because I hear about you fighting snakes and ripping heads off alligators, and I'm kind of
Oh,
like,
wait,
okay,
this is
all pretty good.
I'm talking about stuff that's coming up in April.
Oh, so these are some
Some of these things
are
that
okay
I'm
to come out. These are okay.
Some of these things
I don't want you to get in trouble.
may have happened.
All
And
right.
I may have had an encounter with other things.
So these are non-plot line related items that
Correct.
contractually you're able to disclose.
Correct.
All right. So now you know. Brought to you by our sponsors.
But also, okay, let's close the loop on the disgusting food.
Yes.
Because somebody's going to be like, okay, what really happened? So Gary is one of those survivalists. He's a phenomenal survivalist, very smart and intelligent, and he will eat anything. That's his thing. He'll eat raw meat, rotten meat, you name it, maggots, like, ugh,
Jesus.
tumors, you name it, he'll eat it.
Christ.
I can't do that.
Me
I will be
neither.
honest. So
I need it on a plate.
yeah,
Prepared.
there's a couple of things that I have requirements. My one rule as a survivalist, I will not eat bad meat. Because I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm either crapping myself all day long, puking, getting dysentery, parasites. I don't risk it. And I'm very careful with that. So Gary says to me and Max, my partner, and Max is on my team. He's like, hey, I'm not going to eat anything like that either. And Gary says, hey, I got these maggots. This meat isn't bad. I'm going to boil it for 10 minutes. We're going to kill the bacteria. He goes, trust me, I'm going to eat it. It's going to be great. And this is like the head meat of the alligator. That's why we wasted it, because we let it sit on the head. We were going to save the head. And there was a bunch of cheek muscles still left in there. So I ripped them out, gave them to Gary with maggots.
You'd
and
already
put
eat
it in the pot.
You guys had already eaten the rest of the alligator.
Yeah, we already ate it. We smoked it. We made jerky. I mean, we salvaged every part of this gator.
It sounds like more of a cooking show.
100%.
All right, go ahead.
So Gary decides to boil all this meat, and you see the maggots just coming to the top. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really against maggots. Like, it's part of me saying don't eat this. And all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, I'll give in to Gary. We need the pot for my fish anyways. Max goes, I'll try it. So we both try a piece of the meat with the maggots, and I was like, a little weird taint to it. I wouldn't recommend it as a survivalist. Never eat maggots. Never eat bad meat. And Gary looks at me after I ate it, and he goes, man, I can't believe you did that. And I go, what? He really tricked me. I was like, what do you mean what do you mean I actually shouldn't have done this? And he goes, I wouldn't have done it. And I'm like,
oh, the guy who eats anything?
yes, the guy who eats anything says this to me. And I'm like, no way. And it was my first maggot ever. And it was the one thing that I'll never do again. And I did it because I listened to Gary, and I should have stuck with my intuition.
All right, well, fuck you, Gary, and your maggot trickery.
I didn't get the shits, thank God. And yeah, maggot trickery for sure.
Talk for me. I'm very fecal phobic, just so you know. I could never do this naked and afraid thing because of the whole naked bathroom business. How do you do the wiping?
It depends. You got to find the certain leaves.
Oh, yeah. See, oh my God. I can't go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom at my house.
Do you really?
Yeah. I actually have an executive bathroom here, private for me, just in case an emergency happens.
What?
Yeah, I don't go to the bathroom anywhere ever.
So you couldn't go outside and pop a squat?
No.
And go
Oh,
poop?
shit. No, let me tell you something. When we did basic warrior training when I was in the Marine Corps, the longest I ever went was 12 days. No number 2.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen on the show. Some guy's gone 17 to 20 days. That's pretty sick. They can start puking shit.
Well, and if you're not eating that much, if your caloric intake is low,
correct.
But when it finally did happen, it was problematic. But I'm saying I made it through, and I made it back to a regular toilet where I could do business.
Yeah,
I'm freaky about that.
That, you know what? I totally understand that. I have no shame because girls poop too. I know it's a shocker.
You're crashing illusions I have built up over years.
I gotta be honest. Girls poop too. I have no shame. I'm like, I don't go in front of people.
Years of denial of giving me a safe girl poop-free bubble around my skull.
I know it happens. And girls fart. You know, it's crazy.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
100% they do.
No, they don't.
This is why I said, I'm putting myself out there in front of people to see the real me. And I'm being honest. Do girls poop? Heck yeah. Come on, let's be real. Of course we poop. And out there, I would find my leaves. I would make a leaf pile. I had everything. I either go in the water sometimes and clean up.
People want to know about this. It is a problem because it's whenever you talk about naked afraid, is it one of the first things people ask about?
Is my period. That's what they ask me. What do you do when you're in your period? I swear, it's the number one thing. I don't know why. Out of anything, they're like, what do you do when you're in your period? And I'm like, I don't know. They give me toiletry items. They have to. You really want to see a girl walk around on camera bleeding out of her crotch? Absolutely not. That'd be so inappropriate.
Okay, so they take care of you.
100%.
It's basic stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. There's a there's a phrase about in the PJ community about how you could drop a PJ out anywhere on Earth naked and they could show up in 3 days in New York City in a suit.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever heard that phrase?
No, I never heard that.
And I always think about the environments of the Earth, and they're like, yeah, we're trained in every environment. We can survive every environment.
Yeah.
What's the worst environment you can imagine being in, or is there an environment you imagine that is, or that you know of that like, oh, we don't do show there because you can't make it?
Yeah, that's a tough one because there have been people that almost died on the show.
Yeah.
So they don't really talk about that because there could be some lawsuits.
For me,
involved.
It's the cold.
I got to agree. That's funny you say that because one thing I would never do is a cold weather challenge. I don't have enough body fat. Even when I try to prepare for a show, I go to the gym. I try to build up as much muscle mass as I can. I try to put on a little fat on me. I get to about 136. That's my golden weight for me to go on a challenge. I would not have enough weight to survive the cold. It would be absolutely miserable, and you can't get away from it.
You lose a lot of weight around the cold.
Yes.
It burns calories
Barefoot.
just surviving it.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It'd be risking a limb is what I would look at.
Yeah.
And there are some cold weather challenges out there that they've done on Naked and Afraid, but I just am not attracted to that at all. I would not do a cold weather challenge. I'm pretty hardcore. I hated in the military. We'd go out into the range and we'd shoot, and it'd be like -5. It was miserable.
Where was that at?
Colorado Springs.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We've had some cold winters, and that was 14 years now. Oh my gosh, when I was in. And Every time we went to the range, it was always during a snowstorm or a blizzard. And I'm like, how do you expect my shot grip to be tight when I'm sitting there shaking? I can't stop my shaking because I'm so cold. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. It's miserable. I hate being cold.
Tell us what you'd like to promote today. I'm sure people have had fun listening to your stories of nudity. It's slightly titillating and voyeuristic of us all to kind of hear what's going on. Tell us the things you'd like to promote a little bit while you're here today.
Okay, something kind of great that I'm supporting right now is I'm actually doing a fundraiser for a charity called Michelle's Place. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Resource Center. And it's part of a reality rally. It's when all of us reality stars come together once a year and raise money for this charity. And it's a place where women can go to, even men that actually get breast cancer, which is common. And they give you the right resources, whether they help you take you to places, they pick you up. It's like your own personal Uber. And they're there for you. They have psychologists that step in to
Where is
talk
this?
to them. This is in Temecula, where they're based out of.
Yep.
And they help women across the United States. And so right now I'm raising money for it. It's a reality rally. You can look up Amber Hargrove. If you want to make a donation, it means the world to so many different people, and it makes a difference.
What's the where do they go? Give us an exact website.
RealityRally.com.
And they can make a donation there?
Under Amber Hargrove, under stars.
Reality, say it one more time.
Reality Rally.
Reality Rally, like RALLY.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, Greg, if you would consider donating to a beautiful charity.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have to take your clothes off either, though.
No.
Maybe.
I will take my clothes off whenever it's required and whenever it's fun and whenever it gets the desired shock effect. But I'll donate money to good causes, of course.
Oh, thank you.
You know what we should do is, why don't we make a knife that we do like an online auction for, so everyone gets to participate in that. How about that?
Oh, that would make my heart smile. Seriously.
Okay. Yeah, happy to do it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so Bobby, make sure Bobby's in the background. He'll be dealing with all of this. So let's do we'll do an auction knife. Okay, cool. And then would you just coordinate that a little bit with Bobby and we'll make that happen?
Of course.
Great.
100%.
When's the deadline for that?
April 1st.
Okay, and what else you got going on?
Actually, currently, I designed my first blade with my husband, Peter. It's going to be called the Barracuda. I mentioned it. I actually got to take both of my prototypes on my last 2 challenges, and it's a phenomenal blade. I can't wait to share it with everybody. It's going to be released in 2 months.
What style of blade is it?
It's a bukuri.
It's a bukuri.
Yeah, a bukuri is more like when you see a kukri, it's a little bit more straight edge on the top, and the handle fits your hand like a glove, especially in the wild.
What's the handle made out of?
The handle material you can select. There's different versions of it you can actually have. I had black micarta for mine with orange liner because it's easier to find if I dropped it, which as a survivalist makes sense. And I also am working on a notch design that we're working on a patent called the Amber Notch. An amber notch is on the inside of the blade, and it's where you can actually strike your ferro rod with, where you're not touching the edge of the blade itself.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like in a choil area.
Yeah, right above it. It's really interesting. So I'm really excited about that. And right now, I feel spoiled.
That's going to be hard to patent.
You have no idea.
I mean, I do actually.
You do know.
Yeah, I wouldn't patent it if I were you.
It's been a work in progress, and it actually works, though, which is so amazing. Like, it may be hard to patent, but having this on the blade, the Amber Notch, it actually has been proven to work in any environment, and in actually any type of ferro rod. So,
well, I like the idea that you're doing something like that. That's cool, and branding it and giving it a name. I've seen notches on knives before just for that, but no, that kind of stuff's super hard to patent. And
you're right.
You almost never get the money back.
I
don't do patents at all. I mean, I even have new mechanisms the world's never seen for knives that I'm gonna make. And I don't even patent anything because everyone's going to steal it. The Chinese are going to steal it anyways. And then you put this money into the patent. It's really hard to defend it.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
It's kind of crazy, but
it was just kind of fun the idea and the process of actually working. I'm like, thank goodness.
Yeah, cool.
And taking it out in the wild. So it's kind of fun.
All right, what's it called again?
The Barracuda.
The Barracuda. And that's over at Dark Timber Knives.
Dark Timber Custom Knives.
Dark Timber Custom Knives. All right, cool. And boy, I've gotten something in my throat. It's just
do you need CPR?
It's torpedoing me right now, for God's sake. What else do you have besides that?
That's about it. I'm actually just traveling around and doing a little promotion for the breast cancer awareness fundraiser and also for my Barracuda with Peter.
Are you going out to California tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go train with Terran Tactical.
Yeah, okay. So
I'm really excited to meet Tatiana.
I'll see you out there.
You're going to be there Saturday, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it should be. We'll see.
I know. I wrote Rock, actually. He's actually a really sweet guy. Galati?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm actually interested in meeting him, and what he does in his career is really a cool job.
He's been around a long time too. I remember I was at Galco years ago, and my friend Darren was dealing with rock 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's been around the Hollywood gear industry a long time.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you got a cool job too, man. You have grown so much just watching you in 3 years and what you're doing. I mean, you have so many people who believe in you and follow you. You're doing great. Your rawness really sets a presence for the tone.
It's funny. I think I get some people who really like me and they let me know, and a lot of people just you could see the numbers. There's people there watching and looking and listening.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of haters. Like the haters wear me down.
They're always going to be there.
Yeah, they wear me down a little bit.
I wouldn't let them get to you.
You're
bigger.
Yeah, I know, and I don't let them get to me anymore. But boy, I tell you, they just it's unrelenting. They're just unrelenting.
And it's almost like being a pit bull and you just want to go after them and rip their throat out sometimes. And you're like, I can't. You're just behind the computer. You're just giving your voice and your opinion like I do every day in my life.
I have to take my own advice, and just like fly at a different altitude. Not that let this stuff touch me, but I really want to fast rope out of the helicopter and cut their throats.
100%. It took me years to get there.
I found my social media,
Yeah. No,
Well,
100%. But I really would like to see you come to Colorado and forge with Peter, get your hands dirty, and also don't worry, there won't be any poop
hands
involved.
dirty. whoa.
I meant in the forge, like really get to experience.
You had me at watching the forge. As soon as you said hands dirty, I'm
What?
out. No, I'm kidding.
And then I want to get you in the water with an alligator just so you can feel it. And it's really just creates something, that adrenaline inside of you, like that natural reaction you had with the shark. I guarantee you're going to have that with the alligator. That's inside of you, that marine. It wants to come out and play.
All right. Well, duly noted. And if I do lose a hand or an arm,
You won't, I promise.
It would be like it would be an awesome story to tell at Blade Show. You know what I mean? I'd be like,
Because
I
of
used to
Amber.
make knives, but now I just manage it. Guys, don't you get your hand dirty? I do occasionally get my hand dirty. I will show you an alligator hunting knife that I just made for Zach Brown.
What?
It's out in my shop here.
Man, I just missed him at the Red Rock Amphitheater. I live 4 minutes from there, and
Yeah.
I wanted to write him and be like, I'm like 5 minutes from you, brother. I would love to meet you, but I'm a fan and a nerd, so.
It's funny. My daughter, her first concert was a Zach Brown concert.
No.
So Zach and I have been talking, and I'll tell you how I met him. So I'm at Blade Show, and this guy comes up and talks to me. I'm standing at the counter. We go back and forth, and I don't watch TV, and I don't know what anybody looks like. These guys talking to me like, "What do you do?" This, I make knives full time. This back in the morning, I'm just myself, completely matter of fact, and I said, "What do you do?" He says, "Oh, we do music." He says, "I play a little music here and there." I said, "I mean, that's a tough gig, man. I'd hate to have to try to earn a living doing that." Oh, fuck yeah, I did. I said, "Yeah, I play a little music too. I play guitar." I said, "My daughter sings, so I play guitar and we sing together and have fun."
Oh.
And he goes, "Oh yeah, what kind of guitar you play?" He goes, I said, I play. I got Taylor guitars and I got this guitar and that guitar. I kind of collect guitars." And he goes, "Oh, I know Bob Taylor," and he starts telling me about it.
What?
And so we're back and forth, and he was kind of funky. He had like a vest and like
I saw him at Blade Show.
Cool shirt.
I watched him in the distance, and I'm like, I don't know. Should I go say hi
He
to
got
him?
kind of a
I wanted
funky
to
hat on.
Yeah, he had that funny
And you're
hat.
like, either he's a weirdo mushroom guy or that guy's somebody. Like, I don't get it. I wasn't processing. I'm just sort of shooting the shit with the guy. And so I said, "Well, what do you do really?" He said, "Well, my guys and I, we have a little band. We play music, and the dudes are standing behind him. And they're all kind of funky,
Yeah.
Southern, cool looking, And then one of my employees leans in. He goes, "Boss, that's Zach Brown, major international recording artist."
Oh my gosh.
And I go, "Zach Brown." I go, "Ass in the water, toes in the sand." That's Zach Brown. He goes, "Well, yeah, that's it." I said, "Oh, look at you." I go, "Shit, man, you sandbagged me like that, goddamn it." He goes, "Well, I don't." I said, "Cool." He dug it that I wasn't like a star fucker,
That's exactly what he needed, and you were just yourself. That was so great.
So what's funny is we become friends and back and forth. So he's got a concert coming through town. He texts me. He's like, "Hey, you guys want any tickets?" I said, "Let me get the guys out." And he says, "Hey, you want to maybe come by beforehand? We could talk knives, bullshit, play guitar, whatever."
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, if you want to bring anybody, bring them along." So, Amy didn't want to go, and my daughter Roxanne, I was like, "Hey, you want to go to a Zach Brown concert?" So I had her listen to some. She, "Oh yeah, I'll go." So we go. We come pulling up. I had a unique car at the time, and they knew what to expect. Like, oh, Mr. Medford, I'm like, oh, you're right this way.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm like, oh shit, it's like, it's a concert, it's madness everywhere.
Yeah.
They're like, fast track me through. I go through this gate, I pull in next to all these concert buses, I pull up next to his motor coach.
Oh,
the whole
that's
band
great.
steps out. So my daughter and I get out. I've got some knives for him. We go into his motor coach. She's never been in a thing like that. And then he had invested in a moonshine company. So we're drinking some moonshine.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's taking out his guitars. We're playing a little guitar. And then he's like, hey, you guys want to have dinner? So we have dinner. And then he's like, all right, well, listen, I'm going to have here, my assistant's going to take you through and get your seats up. So we walk across the stage and sit down and out in our
that's
seat.
so neat.
Then he gets up and the band plays and he comes over and, kind of does this.
Oh, your daughter must have been she must have felt so special too.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the punchline of the story. So my daughter has this, that was fun. It was nice. It was nice. And then a couple weeks later, one of my lawyer buddies calls me up. He's like, hey man, the boss is playing out in Dallas. Let's go out to Dallas and see the boss. I got great tickets. And I was like, all right. So we hopped on an airplane to go out to see Springsteen. And my daughter says to me, she goes, oh, what do you think you guys will have for dinner? Are you guys gonna she's like, well, yeah, well, my dad goes to concerts, he hangs out with the musician, and then we have dinner, and then we play guitar together, and then they go out and do the little concert, we all hang out together.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I was like, oh sweetie, that was a special evening.
Yeah, you're like, but to feel that way, how great.
Yeah, it was totally cool as a dad to pull that
gosh.
off, and like and then he gives me a guitar amp and signs it and sends me away. Yeah. So we kind of give each other shit. He's actually a really nice guy, and the dude just loves knives.
No, I heard he was great. He's actually my friend Jake Nodar, I think, stays with him and visits him all the time because Jake's on the show too. And I was always like, man, I would love to go and watch him in concert. I'm a huge fan of his. And then I'm like, when you meet people in person, you get to see that they're actually good humans. I mean, I really appreciate that more than anything.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I really like him, and it's cool. And I just think he liked it. I didn't give a shit who he was. I was like, but now it's kind of fun for me because I'm like, oh, that music that I was, that was that guy.
Oh my gosh, I love it. She's never gonna forget this, by the way, your daughter.
Oh no, I know. We crack up about it all the time. I'm going to concert. I'm like, no, I'm not having dinner with Pink Floyd.
Oh my gosh, the cool guy right here. How old is your daughter?
She's 15.
Oh, is she 15?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, teenager years.
I just got her her first car.
What?
Yeah.
She's super stoked.
It's funny, she wanted I was trying to like make it a learning moment like you do for your kids,
Yeah.
So she was talking about all these different cars. And I have all kinds of different cars, and she likes all my different. She's like, oh, I want to get. I'm like, no, sweetie, you can't have a Porsche. It's your first car.
Right.
Oh, how about an old vintage pickup? Well, they're not really that safe, actually. It's a little bit safer than a motorcycle. Let's get something modern and safe for you.
Yeah.
I said, well, put it this. She goes, what do you mean it's not safe? I go, well, if you drive in the water, it won't stop.
That's right.
And she's like, oh. I'm like, yeah. I go, you have to pump the brakes and kind of work the thing.
Yeah.
So I had her start looking at vehicles, and she's like, well, I want a Challenger, and I want a black Challenger with black stripes.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay. I go, do some homework, check residual values.
Yeah.
You're going to put some money down, and I'm going to buy the rest. I said, and then I want you to cross-check a few vehicles. And so after all these machinations, we've arrived at a Toyota RAV4 with the off-road package.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, and I was actually proud of her because I think it's a really smart choice.
100%. That's actually a great vehicle.
She went with the hybrid because it gets 45 miles to the gallon. And
so she's thinking smart too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I was trying to have this be this learning experience, like, oh, my daddy always bought my cars. I don't know. I didn't want her to be a girl like that. I want her to be like, no, this is your way out. So it's so funny. You know what I'm talking about. There's all these packages you can get. Yes. So I told her, I said, well, look what it costs and see what you can use and what's of value to you. Yeah. And then you pick the package that's right for you. And so, as parenting, we try to turn everything into kind of some positive learning moment,
100%. I'm a truck girl, so my daughter, she wants a truck, and she's like, well, I kind of want your old truck that used to have the Laramie, the 2013 Dodge Ram, and I'm a Ram girl, and I was like, oh man, that's kind of an expensive truck even used now. It's like a $30,000 truck, and I'm like, well, why don't we work something in your budget? So I'm working with her right now. She just got her permit, and I'm just like, she's a great driver. I've actually been letting her drive when I lived in Montana since she was 13. because it was Montana.
Yeah.
We just let our kids go to the store, and now I look back and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Well,
but
it's
that's
funny,
okay.
you know, you're younger than me, and I tell people that I used to have a note after my parents got divorced. My mom's boyfriend guy had a little note, and it said, "Please let Greg buy a case of Natural Light beer. It's
No,
for
are
me."
you serious?
Yeah, so he drags me into the Alpha Beta one time, and I believe I was 9, maybe I was 9 or 10, right around that age, and he had a Toyota Corolla. And he brings me into the manager and he goes, "Hey, this is my boy here. If he comes in with this note, it's from me and the beer's from me. So are we good?"
Oh,
and the
that's
guy was
so
like,
cool.
and the manager was like, "Okay." So, and he said, "And it's safer for everybody if you get my meaning." You know, it's kind of like I drink and I shouldn't be driving. So I don't know, maybe 9 years old. And I drive the thing down to I drive the Toyota Corolla
Oh
down
my
to the grocery store, and
gosh.
I go in. I go get back to the beer section. I get I'd get a case of Natural Light. And I'd walk up and I'd hand the note to the cashier, and she would call the manager over to be like, "Yeah, it's okay." And so I was like, I'd go walking out with a case of beer, put it in the
my
Toyota
gosh.
Corolla, and people would be like, and
That is so great though. But look, when you started to learn these little things as a young age, we never do that anymore with our
No,
kids. We're so
totally
safe. Like,
protected.
I say, I don't know how I survived my childhood. I used to jump off of bridges when I was like 9 years old and think it was great into water.
rock jumping
A
and all
30,
that.
40-foot
Yeah,
drop. At
yeah.
9 years old, I
Yeah.
did this. My sister would hang me over the railroad and just wait for the train to come and then drop me.
Never been risky.
No.
No, the alligator thing was a very recent convention.
I know. And you know what's crazy is my mom, she was single because, you know, she divorced, but I had a really strong woman in my life, thank God. And I did not have my father in my life, which sucks. I only got to see him every once in a blue moon, and he would take me only fishing, hunting, all guy stuff. Always. So that's how I learned certain traits. But I was very blessed to have both of them in my life when I could. But man, I teach my daughter everything right now. I'm like,
So Peter won the lottery and snagged you. Good for
yeah.
him.
Or did I win the lottery?
Listen, I'm just gonna say that I know you a little bit, and I'm gonna say he won the lottery right now. Peter, I don't know anything about him. I'm sure you're a prince of a guy and walk on water. But I always see things from the guy's perspective. I'm like, he won the lottery. So tell us a little bit about Peter and his knife company.
Yeah, so Dark Timber Custom Knives has been around for a while. He actually,
Is that all he does?
yeah, he's just a full-time knife maker. He does everything. He doesn't work on blanks. He actually makes his own Damascus. Everything is done with his hands. And it's a beautiful art watching him forge. It's like watching magic. And me, I'm always like, gosh, I want to be able to forge. But I get kicked out of the forge a lot, so I haven't really finished a knife with him besides the Barracuda. It's kind of a side story. But anyways, he's doing great as a knife maker, and he is turned into this mid-tech manufacturer as well, pretty much what you do, just not on a large scale. And his group that he manages through Instagram and Facebook, Dark Timber Brotherhood, is pretty much friends and family that come in there. They start out as fans, but then we turn them into friends and family. It's a wonderful dynamic that they have going on in this group.
Well, let him know if you guys ever stumble across. How big is it? Does he have a lot of employees?
No, it's just him.
Okay. If he gets to a point where he wants to do an OEM project to have something a little more scale made, he should definitely reach out, and I'd love to do something for him.
Man, you know,
I mean, it's not charity. I mean, it's work. I mean,
No,
but I love doing that kind
100%.
of stuff, and I love helping American makers. You know, like he's got a beautiful artistic skill set that's not my focal point. My focal point is making a lot of knives that have an exact feel and are exactly one way.
yeah.
That's a very different skill set. I left my artistic knife maker pretty early on, and I went to process kind of perfection,
Yeah.
like repeatable, identical.
Yeah, I understand
That's
what
a
you're saying there.
different art.
Yeah.
Chris Reeve from Chris Reeve Knives said to me in Europe years ago, we were talking about knives, and he was like, "Greg, making one knife is not hard. Making 10 is pretty hard, and making 100 the same is a goddamn miracle." You know, it's
Oh.
something like that.
Yeah.
You know, making knives, you know, across the years that are the same, that feel the same, that are interchangeable parts, it's really actually pretty hard to do. And
Yeah.
that's kind of my skill set that I've gotten good at with this team. If there's something I could do with somewhere along the way,
You know what would
even
be
as-
fun to see? To see you and him do a collaboration on a knife together. Even if you come to the forge and work with him,
Yeah.
that would be really interesting. I mean, you guys actually have the same line sight on certain things, and I see the same mannerisms, so I know you guys would get along pretty well. It
Cool.
would be a fun experience too.
Very cool. Well, pleasure having you in, and I think we'll call it a wrap for the day.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good fun.
I couldn't drink all my whiskey because it's giving me a buzz, and I have to go shoot later. So I gotta.
Oh my God, that's
I'm
like
such a weenie.
That's a tablespoon, just so you know.
Oh,
You ate an alligator's ass, and you can't have
Okay, Gary ate the ass and balls, not me. They actually ate the penis. It was so gross.
Oh, you had to throw that stuff in.
Oh, it did. They did. I was like, I don't need that.
You're like one. There's the line. You step right over.
Sorry about that. I don't really have a line.
Oh, oh my God.
I got over your barrier.
Fantastic. You guys, you can check out Amber Hargrove in this season coming up out in April on Discovery Channel of Naked and Afraid. I'm clothed and afraid of the stuff she's eaten. Greg Medford from the Greg Medford Show here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks for joining us. We're out.